No one's really talking about how boring it is to become the best version of yourself. And I don't mean like the end of the process. Obviously, that's the best bit because that's when your life is no longer in chaos. But I mean that kind of peace in the middle, that process. No one talks about the waking up earlier, changing your routine, the self-sabotage, falling off, getting back on, building a new internal dialogue. That is all really difficult, but it's also really, really boring. And that's why when people do fall off, they stay off, because there's this idea that we find online, especially on like Instagram and Pinterest, which are very aesthetics based, that the process is supposed to be really pretty and romantic, and it can be, but the matcha, the Pilates, the bubble bath, it's such a small part of the process of becoming the best version of yourself. And people ultimately forget that the whole entire idea of this concept and this process is that you have an identity death. And that is not fun to do. That is very boring. You have to unearth everything you know to be true about yourself. I talk about this in my free masterclass, which I'll put a link to in the description of this video. But aside from that, there are a few points that I'm going to cover that I think will really help you right now. And one of those things is that nobody claps for you. They will in the beginning, they will clap for you in the beginning. When you say, oh, you know, I want to turn my life around. I've had, not everybody, but you know who the people are that will cheer you on, and they will. You'll say to them, you know, I want to start working out. I need to change the way I think. I want to rewire my mindset. I don't really like where my life is heading. And they will be happy for you in the beginning. They will say, oh my God, well done. Maybe on day 3, how's it going? By the end of month 1, they'll be completely gone, and it will literally be you, and it will be a test of how you can show up for yourself and how much you really, really want to become the best version of yourself, and how much you're willing to override the part of it that gets really, really boring. It's quiet, it's inconvenient, it's repetitive, and we have this idea that this should be an entirely fun process from the beginning to the end. So when it's not, it's easy to give up on ourselves. But what you don't see is that behind the boring elements of it is when the real transformation starts, when you can show that you're committed to your journey no matter what, even when you don't want to show up at all. Most people think, oh, it isn't working. I'm trying everything. I've put everything that I've learned to the test and nothing's happening. Everything looks the same. But what you're not seeing is that it is working. It's just not showing up in your physical reality yet. So this is where most people pick either A or B. A is to fall off and just believe it's easier to go back to who they were, because it's always easier to go back. It's always easier to stay the same than it is to change. Or B, stay bored, stay locked in, and then get the results that show up in your physical reality in order for you to become the best version of yourself, which is the bit that most people don't cross over to. The second you stop needing your glow up to feel exciting and you just trust the compound. If you know anything about investing, you know compound builds a massive return on investment. So if you're constantly investing, constantly investing, no matter what the market looks like, there's going to be days where you're like that, and then you're going to come back up. But if you can withstand it, you'll get a great return. So if you can do that without needing it to always be magical, to always feel amazing, to always be glitter and gold, then that's when the whole entire process finally clicks. So here's what I want you to do. Now, I'm not saying don't romanticize this journey. In fact, that's the first thing I would tell you to do. What I'm telling you not to do is expect it to be a magical process from the beginning to the end. When you stop needing it to be pretty, the aesthetics will come. Focus on the internal shift first. Focus on the feeling after you make the promise to yourself, not how it feels or looks to anybody else. Build micro routines that you actually enjoy. I say this all the time. Do not build routines that you see online, because those only work for the people where those routines feel as though that's who the best version of themselves would act like. But if you don't like the idea of Pilates, or you've been to a few Pilates classes and you absolutely hate it, but you see Shelly online looks great doing Pilates, and you try to force that into your routine, you're not going to stick at it. You're going to fall off so fast. So do something that feels natural to you, and it doesn't have to be 6 to 10 steps. It can be 3 powerful steps that can help you shift into the alignment of the best version of yourself in the morning without having to adopt what you see online that other people are doing. Another thing I want you to do is keep track of proof that it's actually working. This doesn't have to be a visual thing. You don't have to look into your 3D reality to find this. Track that the fact that your mood has changed, that you show up differently, that you show up more consistently, that you respond to things differently. That is a major telltale sign that you're becoming the best version of yourself. If something used to wind you up before and now it doesn't, you don't need it outside. You don't need someone to tell you anything. You don't need to look for something in your visual world. Just by looking at the way that you respond to certain situations that you knew last month were winding you up and now they don't, that is all the evidence you need to show that you are on the right track to become the best version of yourself. And romanticize the journey. I know I said it's not a romantic journey, but it can be. I was just saying it's not a romantic journey from the beginning to the end, but do become intentional about romanticizing the journey. So, you know, make a playlist if you need to, light candles, have a lovely coffee. I still do the bubble baths and everything to make me feel good. And this is my first video. And I wanted this to be the first video because I don't really see too many people talking about it, but it's a tedious process. However, if you can overcome that obstacle, it's worth it, because the best version and showing up as someone who's happy and liberated and enjoys life because you can finally live how you want to, then it's worth it. But to become her, you've got to stop chasing and start choosing. Start showing up for yourself, start aligning, get over that bit where it gets boring, where it gets messy, where it gets chaotic, when people stop clapping, when people stop showing up, when people stop supporting. You have to be the one that supports yourself, because the dream is so much bigger than any of that, and it's worth sticking it through. And if this is something that you really needed to hear, I would really, really encourage you to check out my free masterclass. It's, as I said, I'll put it in the description below. So watch it, enjoy it, take notes, apply what you've learned. Because if you're tired of starting over, this might be the very, very shift that you needed.